All right, let's get to our next opening out topic on the Rock Squad podcast, and that is the Beach Boys releasing a new box set called Feel Flows for the Sunflower and Surfs Up era, the 50th anniversary of those two. I guess I would say classic. I don't know if a lot of people in general would say those ones are classic. They're going to feature 5 discs and 108 previously unreleased tracks recorded between 1969 and 1971. You got some alternate mixes, live stuff, isolated vocal tracks, which makes sense for a band like the Beach Boys. And it's going to be coming on July 30th. They just released an unreleased song called Big Sur, which you can check out on streaming services. And Dave, this is actually very funny for me because I'm a pretty big Beach Boys fan, but last year around this time, during the first lockdown and quarantine that we were going over, I said to myself, you know what? I need a listening project. Like I really want to dig into a band's catalog and listen to every single song and every single album. So I listened to every single Beach Boys album from front to back. They have something like 30 records in their catalog. It took me, this was over a couple of months. It was a very prolonged experience. And it was hilarious after the fact because then Spotify thought that the Beach Boys were my favorite band of all time. And my end of the year playlist was all filled with Beach Boys. So it was quite an undertaking. But the thing is that I came to appreciate the different eras of the Beach Boys because we know obviously the early days when they were everyone's favorite surf rock band, everyone's favorite car club band. Then they moved into the Pet Sounds era, and then they burned out with Smile. But these two albums, Sunflower and Surf's Up, are actually they're pretty cool, and I think they're actually really, really good. Brian Wilson was scattershot between all these different albums. He only would appear every once in a while, but there's some really great songs. Slip On Through is a good one. Tears in the Morning, Forever came from these sessions, which obviously we know that Uncle Jesse covered on Full House and sang to Aunt Becky. That was a big song for the Rippers. And then other members were stepping up for the Beach Boys during this time. Mike Love, Al Jardine, Carl Wilson, Dennis Wilson, obviously, whenever Brian Wilson wasn't around. But what's your mileage with the Beach Boys? I don't know if we've ever really talked about them.
The Beach Boys to me, they're like the earth. To me, they sit in the same place as like a Radiohead. Like where I like different eras and different flavors of them. I was unaware. I don't really know all the story of the Beach Boys when Brian Wilson was dealing with his depression and stuff. Is that when it became a little bit more Mike Love and everybody else kind of stepped up and he just backed off? He was never like out. He was just like backing away.
He would kind of come in and out. So they made Pet Sounds, and then he went to go make Smile, and that's when that became unreleased, and he burnt out after that. So after that, Carl Wilson stepped up and became the leader of the band, and they started playing live a lot more. They went out and started playing live as that combination. Bruce Johnston came in and started doing more stuff. And then Brian Wilson still wrote songs for the albums, and some of the songs from the Smile sessions would trickle out, but he definitely wasn't like the driving artistic force of the band.
Crazy. I didn't know that. I've never really I've watched lots of stuff. Like I know all the stuff about like the Manson family and like all that crazy shit and like Dennis Wilson and all that stuff. But I was unaware of like the timeline. I always felt like they haven't really explained it well. There needs to be a good Beach Boys movie to like to like show that like when he came in, because he was he was the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And then he, it's like, and then he just completely backed out, but didn't really. And that's, I think, confusing.
Well, he's still going strong now. Like, Brian Wilson has been he finished Smile. That ended up coming out in 2005. Then they actually did release the Beach Boys version of Smile about 10 years ago. It came out in 2011. The full album, everything came out. So that was cool. And it's a very great record. Both versions, the Brian Wilson version and the Beach Boys version. But it was funny because I was on Instagram earlier and there's Brian Wilson announcing a show coming up in LA. And I find that so heartwarming that through all the stuff that he went through, that he's still out there playing and singing Beach Boys songs. That makes me very happy.
Is it that he doesn't get along with the Beach Boys, so that's why they do separate things? Or is it that because he has those sensitivities and that kind of a mind, it makes more sense for him to just do what works for him when he can do it? Is that what it is? Or is there like an issue?
Mike Love, I think, owns the name Beach Boys. So Mike
Oh,
Love is the one who goes out and tours as the Beach Boys. They did have a reunion in 2012. They made a record called That's Why God Made the Radio, which was with Brian Wilson, all the original members that were still alive.
okay.
Obviously, Carl and Dennis couldn't be there. But the rest of them all got back together, and that was pretty cool. And then they broke off again, and Mike Love, continues on with the Beach Boys name, and Brian Wilson is out there with Al Jardine and Blondie Chaplin, who played with the band. They're out doing a tour as well. So I guess you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when he started to back away, that's when Mike Love became more of the band leader, and that's why he kind of has the creative on it.
A little bit. Carl Wilson for a long time was the main force, and then Carl died in the late 90s, I believe, and then Mike Love definitely became the driving force, but not so much in the studio, just as a touring band. They're road horses for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so at what era, who made the executive decision for Uncle Jess? When did John Stamos come into the mix?
John Stamos, he played with the Beach Boys in the 80s. He would play drums and percussion with the Beach Boys as a musician. And so when he finally got onto Full House, that's why he had an in to always say, they would have episodes, hey, the Beach Boys are here. The Beach Boys randomly showed up in our basement. And we're jamming with the Beach Boys, and we're in Hawaii with the Beach Boys. So that's why, he has that strong connection with them.
So Uncle Jesse really was a ripper.
Yeah.
He's ripping it.
Ripping forever.
I actually follow John Stamos on Instagram, and I have noticed that he's actually on tour right now with the Beach Boys.
Yeah,
doing doing the Florida resorts and stuff. That's got that how perfectly targeted is that audience?
Yeah, 100%.
We come for Kokomo, we stay for John Stamos.
Yeah. But yeah, Kokomo was a resurgence for the band in the 80s. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
On the Cocktail soundtrack, the Tom Cruise movie. Classic.